The deadline approached with agonizing slowness as both sides prepared for what came next. Chancellor Vexnar sat in his command chair aboard the Council flagship and reviewed reports with satisfaction. His tactical officers confirmed that all 300 warships maintained perfect formation. His intelligence officers reported unusual civilian movement on Earth, but nothing that suggested military preparation. Everything pointed toward human surrender. Exactly as he had predicted. They always surrender. Vexnar said to his second-in-command, Sub-Chancellor Thresh, I have conquered 17 systems and never encountered real resistance. These humans will be no different. Thresh was Polarian, a species that had joined the Council 70 years ago. Under similar circumstances, his people have resisted at first, but were quickly overwhelmed by superior Council technology. Now Polarians served throughout the Council fleet, always in secondary roles beneath their Kovathi masters. He studied the data about human movements and felt something that might have been unease. The evacuation patterns seem unusual. Thresh said carefully, They are moving civilians away from orbital strike zones, but also away from major cities. Perhaps they plan to resist? Vexnar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. Let them resist if they wish. It will make the lesson more memorable for other species who might question Council authority. Prepare bombardment solutions for their major population centers. If they do not surrender on time, we will demonstrate the price of defiance on Earth. Admiral Daniel Crawford coordinated with fleet commanders across the solar system through encrypted channels. Every ship captain received detailed orders for what came next. Captain Ryan Mitchell, aboard the Horizon, confirmed his position near Venus orbit. Commander Lauren Hayes on the Defiant acknowledged from her station near the moon. Dozens of other voices checked in one by one until the entire fleet was accounted for. All ships report. Ready. Daniel's tactical officer said, Nightfall platforms are online and awaiting firing solutions. Daniel pulled up the tactical display and studied the Council fleet formation. They had spread out more than expected, probably a standard precaution against mass attacks, but they were still too close together for what humanity had planned. Send the go code to all Nightfall platforms. Daniel ordered. Operation Silent Thunder begins in 10 minutes. Deep in Saturn's rings, Lieutenant Brandon Foster watched his countdown timer tick toward 0 platform. 7 had been his home for 6 months, but now it felt like the most important place in the solar system. His weapons officer sat ready at the firing controls. His engineer monitored the mass driver cannon's power levels. Everyone was quiet. Focused, ready. 3 minutes. Brandon said to his crew, Remember your training and trust your equipment. We get one shot at this before they know we're here. Similar scenes played out on hundreds of hidden platforms throughout the solar system. On Platform 12, near Jupiter's moon Europa, Commander Patricia Cole prepared her electromagnetic pulse missiles. On Platform 35, in the asteroid belt, Captain James Burton armed his quantum disruption torpedoes. And on Platform 1, hidden behind Earth's moon, the platform commander checked targeting solutions for the Council flagship itself. President Nicole Brennan sat in the command bunker beneath Colorado with her senior staff. Multiple screens showed different views of the solar system and the Council fleet. General Kevin Martinez stood at the tactical board and called out status updates. Intelligence Director Amanda Wells monitored Council communications for any sign they suspected what was coming. There was no indication the aliens knew anything. 1 minute? Amanda said quietly. Nichols' hand hovered over the authorization panel. One press of the button would commit humanity to war against a galactic power. One decision would determine whether Earth remained free or became just another conquered world. She thought about her daughter. Thought about every child on Earth who deserved a future without alien. Master, she pressed the button. Silent Thunder is authorized. Nicole said into the command channel. All units execute. Admiral Daniel Crawford received the authorization and took a deep breath. All ships, all platforms, commence firing. He ordered, for Earth. The response came back from hundreds of voices across the solar system. For Earth, Brandon Foster's countdown reached 0, and he gave the order without hesitation. Fire! The mass driver cannon released its payload with a magnetic pulse that lit up his instruments. A tungsten rod 3 meters long and half a meter wide accelerated to 12% of light speed in less than a second. The platform shook from the recoil despite the dampeners. The projectile streaked across the solar system faster than any Council sensor could track all across human-controlled space. Similar weapons fired in a carefully choreographed sequence. Hundreds of relativistic projectiles launched toward predetermined targets. Electromagnetic pulse missiles followed seconds behind quantum disruption torpedoes, armed themselves, and began their approach runs. The Council fleet detected the attack 30 seconds before impact. Alarms screamed across every ship as sensors finally registered the incoming projectiles. Officers shouted orders and crews scrambled to respond, but there was no time. The first impacts struck with devastating force. A Council cruiser took a relativistic projectile through its forward section and simply disintegrated. The kinetic energy released was equivalent to a nuclear weapon debris sprayed outward. In an expanding cloud of superheated metal, 3 nearby ships were damaged by the shrapnel more. Impacts followed in rapid succession. Council shields, designed to stop energy weapons and conventional missiles, were overwhelmed by pure kinetic force. Ships that had survived battles across dozens of star systems were crippled or destroyed in seconds. 47 warships were hit in the first 90 seconds of combat. Chancellor Vexenar gripped his command chair as his flagship shuddered from a near miss. Damage reports flooded in from across the fleet. His tactical officers tried to identify the attack source, but found nothing on sensors. Where are they firing from? Vexenar shouted. Find them and destroy them. But the Nightfall platforms had already gone dark after firing. They drifted silent and cold, indistinguishable from the asteroids and debris that surrounded them. Council sensors swept the solar system, looking for engine signatures and energy weapons. They never thought to look for primitive kinetic weapons or hidden platforms with no active emissions. Chancellor Thresh watched the chaos with growing alarm. We need to regroup and reassess, he said urgently. They have weapons we didn't know about. Our formation is compromised. Before Vexenar could respond, the second wave hit. Electromagnetic pulse missiles passed through Council shields like they weren't there. The shields were designed to stop physical objects and energy beams, but not electromagnetic warfare technology. Systems across the fleet began failing as the pulses overloaded power grids and fried circuits on the Council flagship. Lights flickered and went dark. Backup power kicked in after several long seconds. Weapon systems went offline. Navigation became erratic across the fleet. Similar failures cascaded from ship to ship. Now, Admiral Daniel Crawford said from the Valiant's bridge, all ships, full attack speed. Hit them while they're disorganized. Earth's fleet broke formation and accelerated toward the Council ships at maximum burn. To the aliens, it must have looked like a desperate suicide charge. 75 human warships against over 250 surviving Council vessels. But Captain Mitchell and his fellow commanders knew the plan as Council ships tried to target the approaching Earth vessels. The third wave struck quantum disruption torpedoes, reached their targets, and detonated. The experimental weapons created brief rifts in spacetime that destabilized matter within their blast radius. Council armor, designed to withstand plasma and laser fire, simply fell apart at the molecular level. 3 more capital ships exploded as their hulls disintegrated. The Council fleet was in full disarray now. Some ships tried to return fire, but their targeting systems were still recovering from the electromagnetic pulses. Others attempted to jump to hyperspace, but their navigation computers were too damaged. A few aggressive commanders charged forward to engage the human fleet directly. Captain Ryan Mitchell watched those ships coming and smiled grimly. "Load all quantum disruption torpedoes," he ordered. "Wait until they're close. Make every shot count." The battle had barely begun, but already the impossible was happening. Humanity, the species the Council dismissed as primitive and outmatched, was winning. Chancellor Vexenar stared at his tactical display in disbelief as ship after ship reported critical damage for the first time in his long military career. He felt something he had not experienced in decades: fear. Admiral Daniel Crawford stood on the bridge of the Valiant and watched the view screen with steady eyes. The massive alien fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system like a swarm of metal locusts. 300 warships hung in space beyond Mars orbit, each one larger and more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. The communication channel crackled to life and filled the bridge with an alien voice that spoke perfect English through translation software. "I am Chancellor Vexenar of the Kravathi Empire and Supreme Commander of the Galactic Council Fleet," the alien said with clear arrogance in his tone. "We have monitored your species for decades and concluded that humanity is too aggressive and unpredictable to join civilized galactic society. You have 48 hours to surrender all military assets, dismantle your space defense networks, and accept permanent Council monitoring. Refusal will result in the complete destruction of your military capability and occupation of your homeworld." The channel went dead before anyone could respond. Daniel looked at his crew and saw the same mixture of anger and fear on every face. No one spoke for several long seconds as the weight of the ultimatum settled over them like a heavy blanket. "Get me President Brennan," Daniel said quietly to his communications officer. "Tell her we need an emergency meeting immediately." 2 hours later, Daniel sat in a secure conference room deep beneath Colorado with the most powerful people on Earth. President Nicole Brennan sat at the head of the table with her hands folded in front of her. General Kevin Martinez commanded Earth Defense Forces and had the look of a man ready for war. Intelligence Director Amanda Wells held a tablet filled with classified information that might change everything. "Show them," Nicole said to Amanda with a nod. Amanda activated the holographic display at the center of the table. Images of hidden weapons platforms appeared, scattered throughout the solar system like secret sentinels. Project Nightfall has been operational for 10 years. Amanda explained, "We have over 400 weapons platforms hidden in asteroid fields, moon shadows, and disguised as space debris. The Council has no idea they exist." Kevin leaned forward with interest clear on his weathered face. "What kind of weapons are we talking about?" "Mass driver cannons that accelerate tungsten rods to relativistic speeds," Amanda said as she pulled up technical specifications. "Electromagnetic pulse missiles designed to overload their shield generators. Quantum disruption torpedoes, reverse-engineered from the scout ship that crashed in Nevada 15 years ago." Daniel felt hope stir in his chest for the first time since the Council fleet arrived. "They don't know we have their technology?" "They have no idea," Amanda confirmed. "We've been very careful to keep our research hidden. Our intelligence suggests they believe we're at least a century behind their technology level. They're expecting us to surrender without a fight, just like every other species they've encountered." Nicole looked around the table at each person gathered there. "Some of my advisors want to negotiate," she said. "They think we should accept some form of compromise to avoid war. But I need to hear from you three before I make my decision. Can we win this?" General Martinez spoke first with military precision. "If we strike first, well, they still underestimate us. Yes, once they know what we have, it becomes much harder." Surprise is our greatest weapon right now. Amanda nodded in agreement. Their formations are designed for fighting other Council species who use similar technology. They're not prepared for kinetic weapons at relativistic speeds or electromagnetic warfare. Their shields will stop energy weapons and normal missiles. But not what we have. Daniel took a deep breath before speaking. Madam President, if we surrender now, humanity will never be free again. The Council doesn't protect member species. They exploit them. We've seen the evidence in their own databases from that crashed ship. Worlds stripped of resources. Populations conscripted into their military. Cultures erased. This isn't about joining galactic society. It's about survival as a free species. Nicole closed her eyes for a moment, and Daniel could see the weight of billions of lives pressing down on her shoulders when she opened them again. Her expression had hardened into something resolute and unbreakable. If they want to judge us as too dangerous to be free, then we'll show them exactly how dangerous humans can be when someone threatens our home. General Martinez, prepare the fleet for offensive operations. Director Wells, activate Project Nightfall and get those platforms online. Admiral Crawford, I want your ships ready to move on my command. What about the deadline? Kevin asked. We'll let them think we're going to surrender. Nicole said with a cold smile, we'll broadcast messages about considering their terms and evacuate civilians from potential strike zones. They'll interpret it as preparation for surrender when really we're preparing for war. When the deadline arrives, we don't wait for them to fire the first shot. We strike first. We strike hard. And we show them that humanity will never kneel. The meeting ended and Daniel returned to the Valiant with new orders encrypted in his personal communicator all across the solar system. Ship commanders received similar messages. Captain Ryan Mitchell aboard the destroyer Horizon Commander Lauren Hayes on the carrier Defiant. Dozens of other captains who commanded Earth's modest but determined fleet on news channels across Earth. People watched as government officials urged calm and announced precautionary evacuations. Most civilians didn't know what was really happening, but many suspected the truth. Parents held their children tighter. Couples made plans they hoped they'd never need, and everywhere, people looked up at the stars with a mixture of fear and defiance. Deep in Saturn's rings, Lieutenant Brandon Foster sat at his station aboard Nightfall Platform 7. The platform had been his home for 6 months. Disguised as just another chunk of ice and rock. Now his console lit up with activation codes and targeting solutions around him. His small crew of 12 prepared weapons that had never been fired in anger. They all knew what was coming on Earth. In her private office, Nicole Brennan stood at the window and looked out over the mountains. Her chief of staff had left her alone with her thoughts for a few precious minutes. She thought about her daughter who was 8 years old and loved drawing pictures of spaceships. She thought about her husband who worked as a teacher and believed in the goodness of people. She thought about the billions of humans who trusted her to make the right choice. Madam President, her chief of staff said quietly from the doorway, Admiral Crawford is ready for your final authorization. Nicole turned from the window and straightened her shoulders. She had made her decision and would live with the consequences, whatever they might be. Tell Admiral Crawford to proceed with Operation Silent Thunder, and tell him that if we're going to do this, we do it right. No half measures, no hesitation. We show the galaxy who we really are across the solar system. Encrypted messages flashed through quantum channels that the Council couldn't intercept weapons. Platforms powered up their reactors for the first time in years. Ship crews moved to battle stations with steady hands despite racing hearts, and humanity prepared to teach the Galactic Council a lesson they would never forget. The 48-hour deadline was still 30 hours away. The Council fleet maintained their position beyond Mars. confident and patient. They had no idea that in hidden bases and concealed platforms throughout the solar system, humanity was ready to strike. They had no idea that the species they dismissed as primitive and outmatched was about to hit them with everything they had. They had no idea that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is threaten someone who has nothing left to lose. The countdown had begun, and there was no turning back now. The Council fleet scattered like frightened birds as more ships exploded under human weapons. Sub-Chancellor Thresh took command when Chancellor Vexenar's flagship lost main power and communications. He ordered an immediate retreat to regroup beyond Jupiter's orbit. The surviving Council ships jumped to hyperspace in disorganized clusters, abandoning damaged vessels that couldn't escape. Admiral Daniel Crawford watched the alien fleet flee and felt no satisfaction in the victory. Damage report, he ordered his tactical officer. Read from multiple screens with a grim expression. 12 ships lost, 31 damaged. Total casualties estimated at 3,000 personnel. The horizon, defiant. And Victory took heavy fire but survived. 3,000 dead in less than an hour of combat. Daniel had known the cost would be high, but seeing the numbers made it real. Each one of those casualties was someone's child, someone's parent, someone who would never go home. Send rescue teams to recover survivors from disabled ships, Daniel said, and prepare for the next engagement. They'll be back on Earth. President Nicole Brennan watched the battle results with mixed emotions. Humanity had won the first fight, but at a terrible price. General Kevin Martinez stood beside her with updated casualty figures. Intelligence Director Amanda Wells monitored Council communications that their decryption software could intercept. They're requesting reinforcements from their core worlds, Amanda reported. Multiple messages sent on quantum channels we can partially decode. The Council is bringing more ships. How many more? Nicole asked. We can't be sure, but based on fleet deployments we tracked before, potentially thousands. This was just their forward fleet. The full Council military is much larger. Nicole closed her eyes and considered their situation. Humanity had won through surprise and unconventional tactics, but now the Council knew what they were facing. The next battle would be much harder. Can we win a prolonged war? She asked General Martinez directly. Kevin hesitated before answering honestly, no. We don't have the numbers or the industrial capacity to match the Council long term. Our only advantages were surprise and desperation. Now we've lost one and still have the other. Before Nicole could respond, Amanda's console chimed with an incoming communication. Madam President, we're receiving a message from the Council fleet. It's Sub-Chancellor Thresh requesting a ceasefire in negotiations. Nicole straightened in her chair. Put him through. The screen activated and showed a Polarian officer with gray skin and large dark eyes. Thresh looked tired and perhaps even troubled. President Brennan, I am Sub-Chancellor Thresh commanding the Council fleet in Chancellor Vexenar's absence. I am authorized to discuss terms of ceasefire. I'm listening. Nicole said carefully, your initial attack was impressive and caused significant damage. Thresh admitted, however, you must understand that the full Council possesses thousands of warships. What you faced was merely a forward fleet. Continued resistance will result in overwhelming force being brought against your world. Is that a threat? Nicole asked coldly. It is a fact. Thresh replied. I propose a compromise. Earth accepts limited autonomy under Council supervision rather than complete surrender. You maintain your government and culture, but accept Council advisors and restrictions on military expansion. In exchange, we guarantee no orbital bombardment and minimal interference in your affairs. Nicole leaned back and considered. The offer was better than complete conquest, but still, meant losing their freedom, she glanced at Amanda, who shook her head slightly. There was something else in play here. I need to consult with my advisors. Nicole said, "Can we continue this discussion in 6 hours?" Thresh nodded, agreed. But understand that this offer has a limited time frame. The council will not wait forever. The channel closed, and Nicole immediately turned to Amanda. "What aren't you telling me?" Amanda pulled up intelligence files on the holographic display. "Our analysis of council communications shows internal division. 3 member species, the Polarians, Mixto Collective, and Hendrix Republic, have expressed concerns about Korvathi dominance. Thresh is Polarian. I think he's conflicted about this war." General Kevin leaned forward with interest. "Can we exploit that?" "Maybe," Amanda said slowly. "What if we offer an alternative to council membership? A coalition based on voluntary cooperation instead of domination. We help dissatisfied council species gain independence in exchange for their support." Nicole felt a spark of hope for the first time since the battle ended. "That's a huge gambit. We'd be trying to split the Galactic Council. It's also our best chance." Kevin said, "We can't win a conventional war against thousands of ships. But if we turn this into a civil war among council species, the odds change." Nicole stood and walked to the window overlooking the mountains outside. The sun was setting over a world that had just fought its first interstellar war. Somewhere up there, human and alien dead floated in the cold vacuum, and more death was coming unless they found a better way. Set up another meeting with Thresh, Nicole decided, but this time, I want Ambassador Stephanie Grant with me. If we're gonna try diplomatic revolution, we need our best negotiator. 6 hours later, the meeting resumed with Ambassador Stephanie Grant joining the call. Stephanie had spent 30 years in diplomatic service and faced down dictators and terrorists without flinching. She studied Thresh carefully. As the Polarian appeared on screen, Sub-Chancellor, "Thank you for agreeing to continue our discussion," Stephanie began. "However, I must inform you that Earth cannot accept your proposed compromise." Thresh's expression darkened. "Then you choose extinction?" "We choose freedom," Nicole said firmly. "We've studied the Council's history through databases recovered from a crashed scout ship 15 years ago. We know what happens to member species. Resources stripped away, populations conscripted, cultures erased. The Council doesn't protect its members. It exploits them. Those are serious accusations," Thresh said. But his voice lacked conviction. "They're facts," Amanda added, displaying evidence on a shared screen. Polarian mining output increased 300% after joining the Council. But Polarian living standards declined by 40%. The Mixto Collective lost 2 entire colony worlds to forced relocation. The Hendrix Republic has seen 60% of its young adults conscripted into Council military service. Thresh was silent for several long seconds when he spoke again. His voice was quiet. "What you say is true, but the Council is too powerful to resist. My people learned that lesson 70 years ago. Did they?" Stephanie asked gently. "Or did they simply never have an alternative before? What are you suggesting?" Nicole leaned forward. "Earth proposes something revolutionary. Sub-Chancellor. Not submission to the Council, not war to extinction, but a third option. A coalition of free species based on mutual respect and voluntary cooperation. Earth, Talaria, Mixtel, Hendrix, and any other species tired of Korvathi domination. Together, we can stand against them." Thresh stared at them as if they had suggested something impossible. "You would help us fight the Council? You, who have barely survived your first battle." "We would help each other," Nicole corrected. "You have technology and knowledge we need. We have something you seem to have lost, the willingness to fight for freedom. Together, we might actually win. The Korvathi would never accept this." Thresh said. "Chancellor Vexenar will bring the full fleet against you. Against all of us if we join you. Then we fight together instead of separately." Kevin said, "We've already proven that courage and smart tactics can overcome technological superiority. With your help, we have a real chance." Thresh closed his eyes and appeared to be thinking deeply when he opened them again. Something had changed in his expression. "I need time to consider this and consult with others who share my concerns. But I will not report this conversation to Chancellor Vexenar. That decision alone could cost me everything. It could also save your people." Stephanie said softly, "And ours. Think about it. Sub-Chancellor. Think about what kind of galaxy you want to live in." The meeting ended and Nicole looked at her advisors with uncertainty. "Did we just make things better or worse?" "We're about to find out," Amanda said, checking her intelligence feeds because the Council fleet is reforming. And Vexenar just sent another message. He's coming back. And this time, he's promised to make an example of Earth that the entire galaxy will never forget. The Council fleet emerged from hyperspace like a wall of death stretching across the solar system. 200 warships spread in a formation, specifically designed to counter human tactics. Advanced sensor nets scanned for hidden platforms while overlapping shields protected against kinetic strikes. Chancellor Vexenar sat in his command chair aboard the dreadnought Retribution and smiled coldly. This time, the humans would find no advantage in surprise or unconventional weapons. Admiral Daniel Crawford watched the enemy formation and felt ice in his veins. Earth's fleet of 75 operational ships faced an enemy nearly 3 times their number. The Nightfall platforms would get maybe one good volley before being detected and destroyed. After that, it would come down to ship-against-ship combat where the Council held every advantage. All ships formed defensive perimeter around Earth. Daniel ordered, "Make them come through us to reach the planet." The human fleet moved into position between Earth and the approaching Council armada. Captain Ryan Mitchell positioned the horizon at the tip of the formation. Commander Lauren Hayes brought the Defiant, alongside with fighter squadrons ready to launch across the fleet. Crews manned their stations and prepared for what might be humanity's last stand. "They're advancing," the tactical officer reported. "Weapons charging. Shields at maximum. They're not even trying to hide their intentions." Daniel nodded slowly. Vexenar wanted this battle to be visible. A demonstration of Council power that would terrify any species. Thinking about resistance, hold position until they're in range. Daniel commanded, "We don't waste a single shot." In the command bunker beneath Colorado, President Nicole Brennan watched multiple screens showing the approaching battle. General Kevin Martinez stood ready to coordinate ground defenses if the fleet failed. Intelligence Director Amanda Wells monitored Council communications with increasing anxiety. There was no sign of Thresh or the promised rebel ships. "Where are they?" Nicole asked quietly. Thresh said they would help. Maybe they changed their minds. Kevin suggested grimly, choosing survival over principle. Or maybe they're waiting for the right moment. Amanda said hopefully. The Council fleet closed to weapons range and immediately opened fire. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human formation. Earth's ships returned fire with everything they had. The space between Earth and the attackers filled with explosions and weapon discharge. Lieutenant Brandon Foster watched his tactical display as Council sensors swept past Platform 7. They hadn't detected him yet, but it was only a matter of time. "Target the lead dreadnought." Brandon ordered his weapons officer, "One shot. Make it perfect." The mass driver cannon charged and fired its tungsten rod at relativistic speed. The projectile struck the Council ship's forward shield and penetrated through sheer kinetic force. Massive damage spread through the dreadnought's bow section, but the ship didn't die. Its shields held just enough to prevent complete destruction. They reinforced their shields. Brandon's engineer said in dismay, "The kinetic weapons aren't as effective anymore." Before Brandon could respond, Return fire found Platform 7 Council missiles locked on their position and streaked toward them. Brace for impact. Brandon shouted. The platform shook violently as explosions tore through its structure. Emergency alerts screamed, and hull breaches vented atmosphere. Brandon's console went dark as power failed. His last thought before the emergency bulkhead sealed was hoping. His message to his family had been transmitted across the solar system. Similar scenes played out as Council forces destroyed platform after platform. The hidden weapons that had won the first battle were systematically eliminated. Earth's surprise advantage vanished like smoke. We're losing the platforms. Daniel's tactical officer reported 12 destroyed, 80 more heavily damaged. The Council knows where they are now. Daniel gripped his command chair and made a decision. All ships, full offensive, close to engagement range. We take the fight to them directly. The Earth fleet accelerated toward the Council armada. It looked like desperation to the aliens. It looked like suicide to anyone watching. But Daniel knew it was their only chance. Captain Ryan Mitchell pushed the horizon to maximum speed and targeted a Council cruiser, his SIS. Weapons officer launched everything they had: missiles, energy beams, and their last 2 quantum disruption torpedoes. We hit them hard and fast. Ryan told his crew, no holding back, no retreat. The horizon plunged into the Council formation like a knife through flesh around them. Other human ships followed in a coordinated attack that caught the aliens off guard. The Council had expected humans to fight defensively. They weren't prepared for this aggressive assault, but courage alone couldn't overcome the numbers. A Council battleship caught the horizon with concentrated fire. Shields failed, and hull breaches spread throughout the ship. Ryan felt the deck shudder beneath his feet and knew they were dying. All hands abandoned ship. Someone shouted, no. Ryan said firmly, we're not abandoning anything. He looked at his crew and saw understanding in their eyes. They all knew what came next. Engineering. Overload the reactor, Ryan ordered. Helm, plot collision course with that battleship. We're going out on our terms. Similar decisions were being made across 30 other human ships. Captains who knew they were dying anyway chose to make their deaths count. Destroyers and frigates, damaged beyond repair, turned themselves into weapons they accelerated toward. Council capital ships with reactors set to overload and antimatter warheads armed. Ryan watched the battleship grow larger on the view screen. For Earth, he said quietly. For everyone we love, for the future. The horizon struck the Council battleship at full speed. The antimatter explosion was visible from Earth itself, a flash of light that briefly outshone the sun when it faded. Both ships were gone. The kamikaze attacks devastated the Council formation. 17 capital ships destroyed in the suicide runs. Dozens more damaged by the massive explosions. But it cost humanity 30 ships and thousands of lives. Chancellor Vexnar watched the carnage with rage and disbelief. These primitive humans were fighting like nothing he had ever encountered. They refused to surrender even when facing certain death. Press the attack, Vexnar commanded. Kill them all. The Council fleet pushed forward with renewed fury. Earth's surviving ships fell back toward their homeworld. The battle was turning into a massacre. Human ships fell one by one under overwhelming firepower. The Defiant took heavy damage. The Victory was crippled. The Valiant shields were failing in the command bunker. Nicole watched her fleet dying. We're losing, she said numbly. They're going to break through. General Kevin Martinez prepared to give the order for ground-based weapons to fire. It would be Earth's last line of defense, and everyone knew it wouldn't be enough. Then Amanda shouted with sudden excitement. Hyperspace signatures detected. Multiple ships entering the system. It's Thresh. The Rebel Council ships emerged from hyperspace behind the attacking fleet. 63 vessels bearing Polarian, Mixtel, and Hendrix markings. They immediately opened fire on the rear of the Council formation. Vexinar's ships were caught between Earth's desperate defenders and Thresh's betrayal. All ships, counterattack now, Daniel ordered. Thresh bought us a chance. Don't waste it. The surviving Earth vessels turned and charged back into battle. The tide had turned, but the fight was far from over. Council ships spun to face this new threat from behind. The space around Earth became a chaotic melee of ship to ship. Combat Commander Lauren Hayes led the Defiant through the confusion. Her fighter squadrons targeted damaged Council vessels. Her weapons crews fired until their barrels glowed red-hot. She saw Thresh's flagship trading fire with 3 Council cruisers and moved to support. This is Commander Hayes to Sub-Chancellor Thresh. Lauren transmitted, "We're coming to assist. Thank you for standing with us." Thresh's response came back immediately. "Thank us when this is over. Focus fire on Vexinar's command ship. If we kill him, the others may surrender." The Allied forces converged on the Retribution Chancellor. Vexinar's massive dreadnought was the most powerful ship in the battle, but it was also the focus of everyone's hatred. Human ships hammered it from one side. Rebel Council vessels attacked from another end. Thresh's flagship led a direct assault on its bridge of Vexnar, fought like a cornered animal. His ship's weapons tore through attackers with devastating efficiency, but there were too many enemies. His shields failed under concentrated bombardment. His armor began to crack. All ships retreat. Vexnar finally ordered in panic. Emergency, jump to hyperspace. But his damage was too severe. Navigation systems were failing. The reactor was going critical, and the combined fire of 100 angry ships continued to pound the Retribution. The explosion was massive. The Dreadnought's reactor detonated with enough force to damage ships thousands of kilometers away. The shock waves swept through the remaining Council fleet, and with their leader dead, the surviving Kovathi vessels lost their will to fight. They scattered, jumping to hyperspace in panic. Within minutes, the battle was over. Earth had won, but the cost was staggering. Admiral Daniel Crawford stood on the damaged bridge of the Valiant and looked at the casualty reports. 47 human ships destroyed. Over 8,000 crew members, dead heroes like Captain Ryan Mitchell, who sacrificed everything, and thousands more wounded or traumatized, but Earth was free. 3 days passed in tense preparation as both sides readied for the fight. Next battle, Chancellor Vexinar had recovered from his injuries and resumed command with cold fury. His damaged flagship had been replaced by an even larger dreadnought bristling with weapons. The Council fleet now deployed advanced sensor nets designed to detect hidden platforms and kinetic weapons. They would not be caught by surprise again. Admiral Daniel Crawford studied the new Council formation. From the bridge of the Valiant, they had spread out across a wider area and maintained overlapping shield coverage. Their ships moved in coordinated patterns. That made massed attacks difficult. They learned from the first battle. Daniel said to his tactical officer, "This will be harder. We still have the Nightfall platforms." The officer suggested, "Hopefully, we use 60% of their ammunition in the first strike." Daniel replied, "And now the Council knows to look for them." Commander Hayes, what's the status on rearming the platforms? Lauren Hayes appeared on the communication screen from the Defiant. "We're working around the clock, but can only replace about 30% of expended munitions. Manufacturing capacity is the limiting factor. We never built these systems for sustained combat." Daniel nodded grimly. Earth's military had been designed for defense, not prolonged war. Every shot fired, every missile launched, was irreplaceable in the short term. Meanwhile, the Council could draw on the industrial output of dozens of worlds. Then we make every shot count. Daniel decided, prepare the fleet for close engagement. If our long-range advantage is gone, we go in close where their size works against them. On Earth, General Kevin Martinez oversaw a desperate evacuation of non-combatants to hidden colonies in the outer solar system. Transport ships ferried civilians to facilities on Europa, Titan, and remote asteroids. If Earth fell, at least some of humanity would survive the rebuild. How many can we evacuate before the Council attacks? President Nicole Brennan asked during her daily briefing. Maybe 10 million. Kevin said, out of 8 billion. We simply don't have enough ships or time. Most people will have to shelter in place and hope our defenses hold. Nicole felt the weight of those numbers pressing on her. 10 million saved meant billions left behind, but even that small number was worth fighting. So do what you can, she said quietly. Every life saved matters. Intelligence Director Amanda Wells interrupted with urgent news. Madam President, we're receiving an encrypted communication from Sub-Chancellor Thresh. He wants to speak with you privately on a quantum channel we provided. Nicole's heart raced. 3 days had passed since the revolutionary proposal. Now they would learn if Thresh had the courage to choose freedom over obedience. Put him through on the secure line. Thresh's face appeared on her private screen. He looked exhausted and troubled. President Brennan, what I am about to tell you constitutes treason against the Council. If Vexenar discovers this communication, my people and I will be executed. We'll protect your confidence. Nicole promised, I cannot stop Vexenar from attacking Earth. Thresh said heavily, he has ordered the fleet to advance with extermination protocols authorized. No negotiation, no mercy. Complete destruction of your military and infrastructure. The attack begins in 8 hours. Nicole felt cold dread settle in her stomach. Then why are you telling me this? Because you were right about everything, Thresh said with emotion clear in his voice. I consulted with other Talarian commanders and with representatives from the Mixtal and Hendrix species. We are all tired of Korvasi domination. We are all ready to fight for something better. When Vexenar attacks Earth, 63 ships under my command will refuse to participate. We will withdraw from the Council fleet. Nicole could barely believe what she was hearing. 63 ships? Polarian, Mixtol, and Hendrix vessels whose commanders agree with your proposal. Thresh confirmed, it is not enough to stop Vexenar, but it will weaken him. The remaining Council fleet will still have over 200 warships. All Kavathi or species loyal to them. They will come at you with everything they have. Will you fight with us? Nicole asked directly. Thresh was quiet for a long moment. If we simply withdraw, perhaps Vexenar will let us go after he destroys Earth. Perhaps he will turn his attention to conquering your world and forget about our defection. That would be the safe choice for my people, but... Nicole prompted, but that would make us no better than the Council. Thresh finished. We would be choosing safety over principle. Yes. President Brennan, we will fight with you when the time is right. We will enter the battle on humanity's side. Whether we survive or not, at least we will die free. Nicole felt tears threatening but forced them back. Thank you, Sub-Chancellor. Your courage gives us hope. Save your thanks until we see if courage is enough. Thresh said, Vexenar is bringing his most powerful warships. He wants to make an example of Earth that will terrify every species in the galaxy. You need to prepare for the worst battle humanity has ever faced. The channel closed and Nicole immediately called her military advisors. We have 8 hours, she said, without preamble. Vexenar is coming with extermination orders, and we need every defense ready. The next 8 hours passed in frantic activity. Every ship was armed and crews drilled. On battle procedures, nightfall platforms received what ammunition could be transported to them. Ground-based defenses powered up around major cities, and millions of people said goodbye to loved ones, not knowing if they would survive what came next. Lieutenant Brandon Foster sat in his station on platform 7 and wrote a message to his family. He knew the odds of surviving the next battle were not good. The Council now knew to look for hidden platforms. Once they fired, they would be targeted immediately. Tell Mom I love her. He wrote to his sister, "Tell Dad I was brave. And tell little Sophie that her big brother fought to protect her future." Captain Ryan Mitchell made similar preparations aboard the Horizon. His ship had been repaired from the first battle, but still showed scars from enemy fire. He gathered his crew and spoke to them honestly. "We all know what's coming." Ryan said, "Some of us won't make it through. But we fight anyway, because Earth is worth dying for. Because freedom is worth any price. And because someone has to show the galaxy that humans don't surrender." His crew responded with determined faces and steady hands. They were afraid, but they were ready, Commander. Lauren Hayes walked through the Defiant and checked on her crew personally. She found young officers trying to hide their fear and veteran spacers preparing their equipment with grim efficiency. "We've trained for this." Lauren told them, "We're ready, and we're not alone anymore. Thresh and his people are going to fight with us. That changes everything on Earth." Families held each other in shelters deep underground. Parents comforted frightened children with stories about how brave people were protecting them. Teachers led students in songs to keep their spirits up, and everywhere people prayed or hoped or simply tried to stay calm. President Nicole Brennan stood in the command bunker and watched the countdown timer tick towards zero beside her. General Kevin Martinez, Director Amanda Wells, and Ambassador Stephanie Grant waited in tense silence. They had done everything they could. Now it was up to the men and women in uniform across the solar system. 5 minutes. Amanda said quietly. Nicole activated the fleet-wide channel. Every ship, every platform, every defensive station received her transmission. "This is President Brennan," she said with as much strength as she could muster in a few minutes. "The Council fleet will attack with the intention of destroying everything we've built. They think we're weak because we're outnumbered. They think we'll break because we've never faced a threat like this. They're wrong. Humanity has faced extinction before and survived. We've fought against impossible odds and won. Not because we're stronger or smarter or more advanced, but because we never give up, because we protect what we love. And because when someone threatens our home, we fight back with everything we have. Show them what humanity is made of. Show them why Earth will never surrender. For everyone we love, for everyone counting on us, for the future of our species, stand your ground and fight." The response came back from thousands of voices across the solar system. For Earth. The countdown reached zero, and the Council fleet emerged from hyperspace with weapons armed and hatred burning bright. The final battle for Earth had begun.